Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome to the land of the rising sun, a track that once hosted Formula 1. Didn't last very long, but tonight in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors we head to Okayama on the international circuit. I'm Tim Cox, Joshua will keep on the virtual production trailer. Charles Bouchard will be joining very shortly. And let's take a look at the championship standings as always. Kick things off with qualifying just ongoing in the background right now. But first off, let's head to Spec 1. And, well, Christian Banker looking so dominant in the Formula 4. Not so much in the SRS, which we'll see later on here on Apex Racing TV from Statison. Can we make it the, well, yet again a different winner for every championship so far since the Formula 4 came to iRacing? Jason Green lies in second. He's 80 points ahead of Megan Overstreet, our reigning champion, who's herself. So, 165 points down on Christian Kabanka. Michael McConnell in fourth, and it's Renders, Jacobson, DJ Alessandrini, Hamada, Zerbs, and Soto, who had run around, and so had Morgan Burkhardt in 11th, but those well down the order. Across into Spec 2 now, and, well, Benjamin Harris, what a season he's having, but it is oh so tight. Between the top four, realistically, it could go any way, and don't discredit Justin Saunders in 5th, but Harris leads by a 4-point margin over Philip Fernandez, who's got 5 points himself over Jesse Bottas, with Paul Stevens only 5 points behind. Look at that. It's Jeff Saunders, he's 30 points behind Stevens in 5th. Still in with the shout, Blaise Bruges on 292, starting to get cut adrift now with Stano. Montgomery Scriven and Rick Wishen, a newcomer, is really making some shapes out there in 10th at the moment. Into Masters, and well, Yorgmani has been oh so dominant this season. Really had a fight to take to him, or at least a consistent one with people dropping in and out. Alan Degasius in second, but some nearly 70 points clear is Marnie. Richard Coffey lies in third with Murakami only, some 8 points behind in fourth. Antonio Racer lies fifth with Ray Toms, Brewster, Walbolt and Laurie rounding out your top 10 there. Charles, welcome along, and well, I've got fond memories of this circuit. Always, well, in terms of commentary anyway, not so much in driving. But it's like a track of two halves, this one for me. You know, you've got a fast, flowing, natured first half, and then tight and technical second half.
Yeah, you're right, Tim, and thanks for having me in. It's you're exactly right. First half, you know, the front stretch down into turn one. And then that section all the way down past the hairpin into the straight we're on now. completes that first half. It's very, very fast. You're trying to keep your momentum up. And then as we get to this section, as you can see, the 9-degree left-handers back-to-back here. And then this corner coming up, very, very tight corner that's got to switch back very shortly after. So, yeah, very technical section. This is obviously, I think this and Tsukuba are probably the most frequented tracks, at least early in your iRacing career, until you grow and get into the Suzuka and Fuji. So yeah, looking forward to this race. It is at least a wide track, and there's a little bit of a trick to as you see with Alexander Wenger coming into the pits. Pit entry's a little tricky. Pit exit's a little sketchy because you're coming out onto the fastest part of the circuit. But otherwise, it should make for a really good racing.
Listen, those eagle-eye viewers, he spotted the red one next to his name. Identify, he is top in qualifying right now with Kabanka in second. Well, your provisional front row, shall we say. We've, he started, normally we're getting into the done and dusted stage, aren't we? In terms of qualifying, nobody tends to go faster, and certainly less 4 or 5 minutes, currently 6 minutes remaining qualifying. But it's times are changing, and we're starting to see people improving late on. It's not just a formality anymore.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we had a car jump up from up to I think front row as time was expiring in qualifying. So yeah, you got to be out there for the entire 20 minutes trying to make the best lap that you can and see what happens from there.
Oh, yeah, Nico Witcher, wasn't it? He had a astounding late qualifying and let through the order like a salmon, didn't he? So yeah, interested to see how he gets on, one of the newer comers to this series. There's just been names popping up every single week. Good to have Alex Wenger back, although got a few of the drivers out there won't be saying that with him taking pole. But, I mean, even so, I mean, let's assume he wasn't here. Christian Kabanka is still 3/10 clear of Alan de Gassis. He's an astounding qualifying to get himself on the second row with Jorg Marni and all Masters second row at the moment. 3/10.
Yeah, was it 7 thousandths of a second between those two drivers? And we normally see Jorg up there toward the top, but de Gassis put in a really strong qualifying effort. It's going to be interesting. As we get this late into the season, a lot of times, these championship battles are pretty much wrapped up. I mean, we don't really see any last minute charges to the front in the championship standings, but that Spec 2 class is so tight. Every point is going to count from now to the end of the season, so it's going to be interesting to watch that Spec 2 battle today.
It's as we spoke about, realistically top 4, even potentially the top 5 are in with the shout at the championship, because points are distributed in this league for overall finishing position. If we have a big one, and I'm thinking SRS last week at Road, I was going to say Road America. No, very different circuit. Red Bull Ring.
Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, I mean, 7 cars. The top 7 were the only ones unaffected by it. In a 48-car grid, I think it was.
Yeah, it was a huge grid.
Well,
it was a huge grid for other league standards, but it's pretty standard for SRF. But yeah, I mean, we after the race, we kind of looked, and we had 20 wrecked cars on one camera shot at one point in time during the race. So, it was a sight to see. But yeah, this Spec 2 battle, I think it's going to be interesting. It seems like every time you get Harris tries to pull out a lead, he has a bad race, and it just kind of draws the rest of the field back up. So yeah, it's just going to be one of those. It's going to be accident avoidance and just try and get the highest position possible.
This spot, Kabanka improving on his final lap. I think he's managed to go slightly faster, but still nowhere near enough to displace Wenger from the top step of the qualifying standings. Yeah, definitely. Well,
yeah, it's tight now. So yeah, we see Monty's jump de Gassis for the P3. Overstreet and Green are just kind of hanging back there. Witcher with another good qualifying effort today, P7 overall, top in Spec 2 class.
Strong from him, although I get the feeling he will not be Spec 2 for when it comes around to next season. Certainly some of the displays we've seen from the German, he's been German efficient, shall we say, in qualifying, stereotypically and, putting it into practice. That is for sure. One driver definitely to watch out for in the coming seasons here. Actually, he returns for next season with this form. I'm sure he's going to be on the driver's back and certainly wants to watch. Another one in terms of Spec 2 for me is Daryl Drew as well. Let's mention him. Currently line 12 in the 888 machine. Two reasons. One, a bit of a newcomer, but has looks really strong in Spec 2. And if he'd been with us for the whole season, I do wonder where he would have been. And second, well, you've got to look after your own here. He's British.
Well, there you go. So I was wondering where that was coming to, but yeah, that makes sense. Obviously good qualifying. Yeah, new guy. We like having the new drivers in, and I think sometimes that when we get some of these newer drivers in first time, it's a little bit of a culture shock because this is a really competitive field from top to bottom, all three classes. It's some of these people, it's like, yeah, maybe too much racing. No, but it's good to see the new guys coming in, and so we look forward to seeing how he's going to compete. Yeah, like P2 and Spec 2 class, P12 overall, right behind Coffee and Laurie. And then ahead of McConnell. So this is going to be interesting to see if he gets pushed around a bit or if he's able to hold his position.
Definitely going to be fascinating to see how that one pans out. Just looking across right now, we're into the closing stages of qualifying. So those drivers that get across the line before the checkered flag flies can complete their lap in this series. So still plenty of time. Well, I'll say to get across the line. There's 1 second left. There we go. Checkered flag is out. So make it across the line now. You can't start a new lap. So it's all or nothing for a lot of our drivers right now. So Vega, Kabanka, and I think Degassis as well. They're out of the equation. So is Overstreet down in 7th. Western, Coffee, 9th and 10th respectively, as well as a few of the drivers further down through the field done and dusted with qualifying. It's always the driver to watch out for. Antonio Race, always so strong in qualifying.
Absolutely.
Really improved in recent, I'd say last year and a half, come alive, probably 2 years, come alive in terms of his race pace. Not just out over his qualifying pace. Always lives in the memory strong for me. In the SRFs, how he got on the front row at Daytona. Unfortunately, it didn't last very long, but that's always a great moment to see one of our Masters drivers on the front row. But as he comes across the line, let's see if there's any real improvement. There we go. He cuts the timing beam. Let's see if he gets promoted at all. And no, he remains in 8th place. Having gone actually quite a bit slower, considerably slower there on that lap. So he's another driver ticked off the list. McConnell, always want to watch out for. I feel he's a little bit of a sleeping giant in some ways, Charles, because he always seems to be lingering and just knocking on the door. And I think he's not far off making that next step. We've seen hints of it throughout the season.
Yeah, we really have. He's he's one of those. We talk about, the ones that are always running up front in Spec 1, Kabanka and Green and Overstreet. But he's just quietly improving every week. And he's managed to get some good finishing results lately. So obviously he's getting a little more comfortable with the car and a little more comfortable with the racing.
Yeah, definitely getting into his groove. He did improve on that lap in terms of lap time, but remains down in 11th. And just looking at the timing screen, that we are done and dusted in terms of drivers that can improve their laps. So we've got some 10 seconds on just to mull over and experience. I mean, always a little bit of a treacherous track for me, this, Charles. I've got bad memories. Early days in Mazdas in my iRacing career. First corner, not so much. It's more Williams turn 2, that left hander that's tightens up on exit. Normally claims a few victims through either visiting the wall, going through the gravel trap on the outside, but it's also the ones that then end up coming back across the track. That's normally the dangerous ones for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That ricochet off the wall. Hopefully, with the change to the off-track surface, friction modeling, maybe that's a little less now. But we'll just have to see if that situation arises during the race.
That's a good point. I haven't actually commentated it yet since we've had those updates, so it's going to be fascinating to see you watch. You won't have any incident whatsoever. We'll make it through cleanly. Enough said about that one. Alex Wenger starts on pole with Kabanka with him on the front row. Look at that, 400 of a second separating those two in terms of the time for pole position. Excuse me. Then it's little Masters round, row 2. With Marnie and Gassius. Jason Green has Nico Witcher for company on row 3, with row 4 being Overstreet and Antonio Race. Bobby West is next to Richard Coffey to round out your top 10, and row 5 with McConnell and Laurie on row 6. Row 7 are first all Spec 2 row in the form of Dal Drew and championship leader in Spec 2 Benjamin Harris. They were followed up by 2 all Masters row, Ray and Murakami on row 8. With Brewster and Nelson on row 9. Tim Stano and Paul Stevens round out your top 20 in row 10 of the grid, with row 11 being Carter and Toms. Warbot has Jeff Cantor for company on row 12, with row 13 being Kurt Nunes and Sander for Bruges. Watch out for Kurt, because he's a lot stronger than what he's qualified. A real demon in the Spec Race Force. We'll see it here later on in the channel, just about a couple of hours time now. So watch out for him. Jesse Bottas says Chris Scriven for company, with Saunders and David Scott rounding up row 15. And your last row of the grid. Everyone's taken to the grid, so we have got all 30 cars out on track. It always amazes me, because I always think, oh, it's a bit of a small grid this week. But actually, like you said earlier, Charles, a lot of series would be absolutely astounded and happy. And, oh, such a big grid this week, 30 cars. And we just look at it, it's like, oh, what's that there?
Yeah, we get kind of spoiled with the Spec Racer series. But yeah, this is a 30-car grid. Is really nice for the Formula Fords. It's probably more than you would see in an official race. So we'll be interested to see how that the extra traffic plays a part.
I think it's 16 for the officials, but let's get ready to go racing, folks, from Okayama in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, as we are green and we are racing as Wenger, again, setting the precedent, not hanging around whatsoever, but he's blinked out, but he's emerged back in. But that's worrying for Kabanka, who's following incredibly close behind as they make their way through Williams, the treacherous point on the track that I spoke about in just only moments ago. But looking like everyone's made it through as one long stream of Formula Fords comes to the real business end of the circuit. Atwood curve, then out onto this back straightaway down to the hairpin, and well, expect overtaking moves from this point onwards.
Yeah, absolutely. The hairpin is your first real good opportunity for a lunge to the inside, outbraking somebody going in to make a pass. And then it just is a little fast and furious here, but you have to be very careful. These corners are extremely tricky when we get to this point of the track.
Well, like Christian Kabanka displays that.
Lock up.
Wow, that was a big old lock up there. Didn't quite catch who that was. I think it might have been Paul Stevens in the 210 machine. But yeah, Kabanka just literally putting into practice exactly what you were saying as you described it there. He now takes the lead. But this one is by all means not done and dusted whatsoever. As they head around the back of the circuit now, coming through Hobbs, Mike Knight and Marnie under a lot of pressure. There's Race and Degassius. He's dropped a couple of positions. Degassius getting a little bit bullied early on, and just dropping offline, trying to get back into that tow as Overstreet now inflicts more misery on the American Masters driver as he tumbles down to 8th, having started 4th.
Yeah, he's just maybe a little hesitant there, and yeah, a little extra aggressive from some of the other drivers as they're just trying to get as many spots as they can at the start of the race to set themselves up prior to the pit stop.
Amazed, Charles, we've had no incidents whatsoever. It seems how close the racing is, always in this series. And it's one of those circuits as well, but we've all made it through. We're all okay. Everyone's settling in very, very nice. Well, there you go. Curse the commentator 101.
Yeah, just a little solo spin, but he's going to have to wait. It's not in a really good spot, so he's going to have to wait to rejoin, and there we go. All right, so back on the track for Mr. Coffee. And So we'll continue racing. So nobody harmed. We based on that. And the other car that had the big lockup, we've got a couple of cars that may be out there running on squares at this point. So we'll have to keep an eye on that for later in the race. I'm sure these tires, I think the official races are half the length of this, so 20-minute races or something like that.
That's in the advance. I would have said they're about 15 in the rookie series. So
So for those first, and that's another thing about those first-time drivers coming in is, it's a much longer race than what you're used to if you only ran officials with this car.
Of course, we do have pit stops in this series, so those of you watching that are newer to this, so anywhere realistically from the 10-minute mark up until the half-hour mark is the pit window. You can go a couple of minutes either way depending on the track, either side of that, but it is so tough to do so. Drivers do have one fast repair available to their name, and as I said about how everyone made through clear and it was all looking good. Obviously, Silveridge and Coffee had his instance. Since then, Brewster and Nelson I think they've had a bit of a coming together. They've fallen through the order. Brewster down to 29th. Scott has retired the car. Not too sure why. He did come off track at some stage, so I wonder if he might have made a bit of a click with the wall. But just on board with Antonio Race right now. That's Jason Green in front of us. We're going to pull out. We are.
Yeah, we are. That was a good run out of the corner by Race, and just had really good momentum, and that was an easy pass down that straightaway.
Well, even to the point of Overstreet was having a good look at Green there. A bit of a twitching moment. This could allow Green to come back and reclaim that place. Not quite enough momentum, but just to settle them a bit. And this little group here as well. Yeah, skating across the curbs is Antonio Reyes right now.
Absolutely, yeah. He obviously, because he was a little deep there, coming out of the corner, took him to the inside line, and so basically he was essentially drifting it through that first left-hander.
Well, look how much he killed off his momentum. It's not only Green, but Overstreet seeing that big gap looming, put her car in there and got that 44 machine up a place, and Race dropping 2. Well, this is going to evolve, but all this battling has cost them dearly. They've fallen off the back of Witcher and Marnie, who are currently 3rd and 4th, respectively, who themselves signed them, about 1.9 seconds down on our top 2 that you can see on the screen right now, Kabanka and Wenger. And I do wonder, we know Kabanka likes to lead from the front, and I think this might be playing into Wenger's hands right now, who seems to be content, happy with just content being sat behind Kabanka, almost playing the dare I say it, the Jason Green role, to coin a phrase of fuel saving. Well, okay, what do I know?
He just sticks his nose out, takes a look, says, "No, you know what? I think you're actually right. I think he is kind of playing that the fuel save game as we see Overstreet defending on that inside and getting past Green." Up into P5. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if the two cars, Wichert and Monty, in that second pair, if they are able to maybe make up that gap a little bit. It's about 1.9, so they're not really in draft range. But if they stay in line and then the front two decide they want to maybe swap positions back and forth, they'll make up that stagger pretty quickly.
Drew, fairly wrong as being one to watch out for. He's a place into 12th right now, but embroiled in this peloton pack that starts where Tom Laurie and 9th and ends at Gary Walbog down in 18th place. That's a big old pack, and even then they're not too far off the group in front of them, are they? 1.3 seconds, but there is a lot of pace in that group in front of them, being Overstreet, Green, Race, and Gassius, as well as, oh, that's wide, and Drew back onto the track. Managed to keep it out of the killie litter, but might lose a place in doing so.
Yeah, that's killed his momentum, because I think, now the gravel, spinning behind, that's Nunez and Walbolt, looks like. So yeah, it just killed his momentum, and it was a fairly easy pass for Ray to make up into P12.
Little move there by series organizer CV Ray, as I believe we've got a replay queued up of exactly how things went down. That incident between Nunez and Walbolt. There we go. There's curtaining us in the 918 machine. Wallbox just in front of him. Let's have a look. Oh, so
Or just
lost
the rear. Yep, and just a T-bone. And there's, you're in the apex of that corner.
Oh, and
Not
they
really
stuck
well.
on him. Oh.
Yep, that's well, that was very nice of him to just back up and let the car drop down. That was very so they could continue on.
To him pulling, reversing and just dragging him with him. So, we've seen those cars that get netcode stuck together.
Yeah, and sometimes iRacing's, their crash graphics kind of flake out every once in a while. It wouldn't have surprised me if the car just shot to the moon. But so yeah, it was just what we call the magnet, where the cars kind of get simulatedly hooked up, and but he was able to back out of it and allow them to both continue.
We've calmed down a little bit, and well, Sander Bruges hadn't spotted that up 7 places into 19th. The Dutchman, more of a flying Dutchman right now, absolutely motoring. 5th in class currently. Sorry, 6th in class. Apologies. Nico Witcher leading Spec 2. Let's just have a quick run through the order as we head towards the 9-minute mark. Out of 40 here from Okayama. Kabanka leads from Wenger. Then we've got our top runner in Spec 2 being Nico Witcher. Yogmani top in Masters 4. Green and Green in 5th, but actually still on the podium in Spec 1, ironically. And watch out for that battle between himself and Overstreet. Then we've got the 2nd and 3rd and 4th, in fact, in Masters in Race to Gaseous. Laurie a little bit behind, so maybe not quite out of the equation yet, but looking tough for him for a Masters podium.
Yeah, that big train that we had is kind of broken up a bit, and it's allowed some of these cars to just kind of separate. So now we've got packs of 2, 3s, and 4s around the track. We're still going to make for some great racing, because as the later in the race we get, the more they'll battle. Because obviously, Overstreet wants back on the podium, so she's got Green right with her. Race to Gases and Laurie are all together, at least within a couple of seconds. So Laurie will do what he can to see if he can climb back up to that next group. As we see Stevie Ray being passed again by Drew. So that looks like an ongoing battle on track. As at least until the fuel stop opens and Ray enters the pits, because he's usually our first taker.
Well, I'm going to predict he's going to come in this lap, because he normally comes in around about the 11-12 minute mark. So that would be about right coming the end of the lap. We're doing 136s. This group here more into the 137s. So I mean, shows the difference in pace, doesn't it? The lead 2 of Kabanka and Wenger were a whole second quicker than these drivers you see on the screen right now. The different battles being forced out, and that's obviously not really battling, to be fair, just working together and growing that gap. That's now out at 3.8 seconds over Witchett and Marnie, are incredibly close to one another. But yeah, I get a feeling Ray probably come in this lap. If not, then I'm certain it's going to be the next lap for Ray.
Yeah, I think you're right. Laurie, that we saw him on the inside there, he's spun.
Oh, that's getting for him, because that's the same fate as his teammate. Oh, he has got it stuck on the cut. No, he hasn't.
No, I think he's just trying to wait for a clear spot of the track to get turned around. It's just not in a really good position. There we go. He's across, back on.
That is the downside of these big grids, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially in the early stages, you are waiting forever for a clear space.
Yeah. Especially if we get a good green flag start like we had today. Yeah, if you're running somewhere around the top 10 and you have a spin and you're off, you're basically waiting for a while, because you got 20 more cars that are going to be steaming through. So, and like I said, these drivers all are really respectful of each other. We don't see a lot of really, really bad rejoins when they're pulling out in front of people. So, so you have to be patient and wait for your chance to get the car turned around back on track.
Comfortable right now. Things settling down quite a bit. Interestingly, here's one for you. Antonio Race just set the fastest second sector of anyone, but that does entail a bit of that back straight. So that's a large part of it. The slipstream here, the longest straight on the circuit. How much longer than the start-finish straight line probably here can be said about that circuit. So, well, in the real world and well, certainly in the iRacing service, Fuji being always one, being in the same country as well. Springs to mind in that case. Is that Harris just losing a place to Murakami? Yes, it was.
Yep, so that drops him down to P14. He's still third in Spec 2. So obviously Witcher being up toward the top. I did notice, speaking of Witcher, I did notice him and Monty have swapped positions. And by doing so, that's actually brought that next group of Green, Overstreet, and Reyes, and now DeGas's that much closer to them, and they're really right on the edge of draft range. And we see Stevie Ray in the pits, as you called him.
Yeah, my second guess was correct. He didn't come on the previous lap, but he did come out in this lap, and look at that, 13.5 minutes right on cue as always. But more towards the front, that's starting to embolden into a strong battle, isn't it? As the chasing group has caught up with Marnie and Witcher.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what happens when you start going side by side and battling. You invites those cars behind to get that much closer. So now instead of a 2-car pack, you've now got a 6-car pack.
Here the tires squealing and scrubbing as they're trying to find some sort of adhesion and grip out there. Relatively cold track temperatures, 74 degrees Fahrenheit out there today. That in, well, units of measurement that everyone else can use. So 77 is 25 degrees Celsius. For everyone else in the world, other than well, we do have a large representation of people from your fair land within this league, Charles. So, well, maybe if majority rules, then Fahrenheit it is. Or, you should use the freedom units.
I'm just kind of looking down the list here, and we got 6 out of the top 10. So yeah, we'll take that.
It's not bad indeed. A lot of them, I mean, talking of countries and nationalities. I mean, here we've got Swiss, German, Portuguese, and a few Americans thrown in for good measure. A real intercontinental battle. Well, pretty much even as well between Europe versus America. It's like the Ryder Cup all over again.
Yeah, and we'll even let you claim Canada if you want to.
True. Of course, member of the Commonwealth. Has on board with Overstreet now, and well, as much as they've caught up, but it's like, okay, job done, and they're just happy to sit there. It feels quarter for now complete out of the 40. It's horrid, isn't it, when you're leading such a large train like this? The pressure mounting on your shoulders, which the responsibility lies on your money. Hold on, that's Alex Wenger up ahead.
I was going to say I saw a car up front. And I was looking to see if it was maybe a lap down car, but no, it's one of our 2 leaders.
Well, it seemed as though those guys were 6 seconds ahead.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they had pulled a really strong gap. Actually, Kabanka's still 6 seconds. He is 6 seconds ahead of P2 right now.
Well, there you go. It's just in the foreground of the shot going into one. Excuse me. And I think Baby, there's got to have been contact because Wenger just weaving a little bit there, coming down the start-finish straight, Charles. I don't know if you clocked that. Almost in the esque of, right, let's try and, find out what's going to happen to my steering. Is something broken or not? Yeah, by the time I reach turn 1. So I think our producer Josh has found something in the archive. Let's dig it out and see what happens. Does this explain what happened to Alexander Wenger? Well, looking strong because there's Kabanka with us. Well, this has to be he's lost it by himself, Charles. Oh,
he sure did. Yep, just looped it around that. Looks like maybe a little bit of the inside curb helped the rear end around. So yeah, just an unforced error, and so now he's still P2, but now he's got 6 cars behind him that are willing to take that spot very quickly should he make another mistake.
It's electric in qualifying, but one mistake is what it costs you. all it can cost you at times here. Wow, this is game on, isn't it? All of a sudden, we've got 2 positions on the podium overall now up for grabs thirdly for this little gaggle that ends under Gaseous in 8, so 7 cars in total. As well as we've got, well, Witchett's the oddball in this. He's the only Spec 2 driver. However, we've also got our top 3 right now in Masters locked into this too. We've got 3 Spec 1 drivers, so there's going to be 1 unlucky driver who does not get a podium in that class. As I said, we've then got the podium overall to go for. I mean, it's the creme de la creme in terms of this. And when we even, you look at the names that we've seen so regularly over the years in the SRF Weekend Warriors as well. They're all in here too. All of a sudden, this got very interesting, didn't it?
It really did. So the interesting thing I want to watch is now that Vinger is now with this group, is he going to be able to pull them forward and actually maybe make up time on Cabanca, who's running by himself now. So he doesn't have the benefit of any draft help. So it's just him trying to basically hot lap at this point. He's just trying to run. He's either thinking, okay, now do I have a decision? Do I want to try and fuel save up to the pit stop, or do I want to keep just going as hard as I can go and then take my chances that they can't catch me? And I think that's kind of what he's milling at this point in the race. But so far he's done a good job. He's pulled out 6/10 since that happened. So
he's got the flexibility, hasn't he, to do whatever he wants with this.
He does.
6.7 seconds, the gap. I mean, the abundance option. So he's pretty much hitting the apex in turn 1, as the others are coming across the start-finish line. That gives you some sort of representation of what 6.8, 6.9 seconds. I mean, he's growing it, isn't he? Look, but you just watch it by a 10th each time, man. We can see from the live timing sheet, and it's Marnie's made it past. Well, actually, you see from the helicopter shot here, there you go. Exactly how this is going to fall. I'll tell you what, I'd love to see with this down the start finish, so down the back straight, to head out of that work curve, because I think this is going to turn into a little bit of a street fight, a bit of a dog fight in the air.
I think you may be right. And yeah, Monty, obviously, we've talked to him before. He doesn't like fuel saving, so he's going as hard as he can go, every lap. So, if Vinger was kind of trying that fuel strategy, that's not going to work in this group.
Well, you build something up and then nothing happens. Polar opposite to what happened at the start of the race, where I said everyone had got away cleanly, and then all of a sudden we had 2 separate incidents. But yes, Marnie leads the charge for the best of the rest title here in Okayama, round 9 of the Formula 4 Weekend Warriors. Still got Phillip Island, Road Atlanta, and Road America to take in. Since we had Interlagos last week as well, in terms of me doing commentary, I'll tell you, they're right up there, those circuits, with some of the great neutral venues, as it were, to watch as someone sat in the sidelines watching on at the great action that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. When you mentioned that, when you mentioned Road Atlanta, it just kind of threw me back to last season, or season before last, I think, when we had basically 6 cars, the 6 lead cars out of 7 collect each other coming out of the chicane off the back stretch, and it just completely changed the tone of the race.
Oh, well, talking of race, Antonio Race was the driver who made it through and cruised to victory that day. I remember speaking to him post-race, and he was almost a little bit like, a bit disappointing, really. I was looking forward to that fight. A lot of people would think, oh, great, this is going to be an easy win for me. Just don't mess it up, as Wenger looking now to lead the charge on this group. But this is just costing him more and more time.
Yeah,
to Cabanca, 7.9 now, nearly 8, in fact.
Yeah, Cabanca's he's just doing exactly what he needs to do. He's just basically setting hot laps, and these guys they can't match the pace at this point.
And so Kurt Nunes is the last runner out on track in 29th, having Carter having retired. even then, he's still got a healthy gap to him. Nunes is, he's a seasoned driver. He'll facilitate that pass relatively easily as well.
Mm.
So Kabanka will pass him with ease as well. It's all changed
There's
yet again.
Vinger in the pits.
Okay, well that's a little bit different.
That's a strategy call. He says, "No, I think I'm going to go in by myself." Just past the halfway point of the race, so he's going to give that a go, and we'll see where he comes out because I'm interested to see where he falls in relation to in the pack. So as we see, Drew also coming in.
Two of the drivers who you mentioned to watch out for during this race, mixed bag in terms of their fortunes. Sander Verbruch promoted up even further. He's at 13. Chris Scriven actually at 14. He's done that very, very quietly. Very quietly indeed.
Yep, John Tom's up 10 spots. Yeah, there's several cars out there that are having a really good race so far. Part of it is we've had a lot of, we see Vinger coming back out of the pits. And he is in there with Wobolt.
Yeah, Stevens.
Okay,
Just in front
Stevens.
Of him as well.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's truly works out of where he would have hoped to have come out.
No, I don't think so. I mean, let's give those guys credit. They are obviously veteran drivers here, right? Stevens and Wobolt are here week in, week out, just about. So they'll run good pace. Now, obviously, I don't think they'll run the pace that he's got, as you can see him already trying to work through this. But he's getting a good draft down the straights, so he's able to at least maximize his pace around the cars that are with him. So, and he's got who's that, West with him also? Is that who I saw? I believe. So
yes, it would be probably West.
All right. So another Spec 1 driver. So maybe he's got some at least help for the time being as you see him working to the inside. So he's doing what he needs to do. He's taking the draft as he can get it, and he's making the passes as they come. As we see him see a fight back by Saunders there, as Saunders now comes into the pits, I believe. Yep, coming to pit entry.
It's a bit of a treacherous pit entry here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really tricky.
Line, yeah.
It's really tricky. It's almost got a chicane in the middle of it, and you've got to go through two corners. So yeah, it's a little bit of a trick, but because you can carry too much speed in that first part as you're going through that first corner, and then it kind of draws you out back onto the track. So you have to be very careful about your speed coming in. You just can't come in full bore like you can in some other places.
You sound like a man speaking from experience. If you're not, then you've just described exactly what's happened to me many a time.
No, it's exactly what I usually do when I drive this track.
Amen to that, Charles. Yes. Yeah, we're in the club together on that one. That is for sure. That lead up front for Quebec and 9.1. Well, I'm nearest that. Make it, call it 9.2. We'll be in a second. There you go. Over the following group. Well, what can Wenger do to try and close this up, and will that strategy of coming in early work at all for him? Well, having said that, realistically, look at it, 25 minutes. We're not far off. Nearest having 26 minutes actually. Within the next 6 minutes, everyone in that group will have pitted.
Right. Yeah. So Wenger's pit time was 54.5 seconds total. He was stopped. You know what? He was stopped for an awful long time, Tim. I just looked at that. He was stopped for 23 seconds, which is, is that right? Let me make sure that I'm not looking at the right. Yep, that's right. So, yeah, that 23 seconds, that's going to kill him right there. That's just, that's going to be about 10 seconds too long. It's going to be 10 seconds longer than most of the rest of the front runners are going to stop.
Well, so they all compress up together. It's the accordion effect in this group, and as you say, yeah, that's Wenger out of the equation. Absolutely gutting, after putting it on pole to, well, essentially just walk away with, well, what's looking like at the moment, nothing really. Could even struggle to finish inside the top 10, potentially.
It is very possible. Yeah, it's just, and maybe that's just, first time back in a while, just kind of maybe forgot, forgot, some of the pit strategies involved in the race. So yeah, it's a hard way to learn it, but there you go.
Oh, and talking of people pitting in that group, there comes Nico Witcher into the pits. So this will give us a true acid test of just how much time Wenger has lost in respect to these other drivers. Benjamin Harris, the leader in Spec 2, and well, not just in this race, but in the championship as well, visits pit road. So you see the pit stop times from everyone. That's their total transition time through pit road.
Yeah.
So it's cost him, what, if you compare it to Bobby West, yes, it's 11 seconds, isn't it? Realistically, that's what it's cost him. There goes Nico Witcher out of pit road.
I mean, Nico's was 17 seconds, and that seems long as well. As we see Harris sitting there. Yeah, 16.7. So maybe not as much. Maybe it looks like everybody may be taking a little more fuel than I thought. It kind of maybe makes sense because half this track is just the foot's matted to the floor. So maybe the fuel usage is a little higher here than some of the other tracks we visit. But yeah, it's still 7 seconds to 10 seconds longer than most of the rest of the front group are going to be stopped.
But even more so, I mean, if you look at this group of who's left in it, other than Marnie, everyone else behind have had very, very quiet races. As there comes Marnie in, and I get the feeling he's going to have a long stop due to the fact that he's led this group so long. Whereas everyone else behind, they're the interesting ones because they've just sat there the entirety of like, right, let's play the strategy game and make this work for me.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're exactly right. I think that group with Green, Overstreet to Gass's race, McConnell, are basically they were just doing what they need to do to kind of stay in that group. And so they're probably going to be quite a bit less time there because they just didn't use as much fuel. They were able to do a little more fuel saving. As we see Monty with a 16-second stoppage time.
Bank has just set the fastest Sector 4 of anyone, and he's got nobody to help him drive it. And that's the technical part of the circuit. So definitely flying, definitely pushing on what's going to be his in-lap, looking at the clock, surely for the American to secure victory here. And that gap, nearest time at 11 seconds, out comes Murakami. Comes up behind Harris. Ray, considering he stopped very early, has done well. He's into 14th place. So in terms of people that haven't stopped, Charles, let's have a quick sit rep and look at that. So it's everyone up and including for Bruges, who's in 8th. Well, there comes Kabanka. And the only other driver is Jeff Saunders, he's in 11th. He's yet to stop.
Yeah, I was looking, if you looked at the gap between Monty and Wenger now, who, they were together when Wenger came into pits. It's 7-second gap. Yeah, 7 seconds or so.
This best of the rest group.
Oh, here we go.
Except, I tell you, race, he's got another lap out of this.
Yeah, he's pushing it to the end.
He's going to be in this time around. It's looking at the clock, but that is really, really deep territory in terms of strategy. Running of our drivers out because Kabanka, but wow, I mean. If he makes that one work, Overstreet's nailed it. She's jumped up, about 3 places because of it. Where is Marnie? Nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, Overstreet was 11.9 stopped, 42.7 overall pit lane time, which was minimum 1 second faster than everybody else. She gained almost 5 seconds on Kabanka during that pit exchange.
Wow. And so did Jason Green too, because he's interestingly come out behind her. So I do have to wonder, has she put enough fuel in? We know Jason Green runs it lean.
Yes.
No pun intended there whatsoever. Genuinely wasn't. Makes a change for me, but that's either time to perfection or this means I think it could well be close to running one extra lap and that might have caught some drivers out. Antonio racing from the lead. Oh, this could be really tight. We could have a few people coughing and spluttering, or maybe even having to stop again.
Yeah, maybe so. And yeah, we talk about Green. He usually plays it pretty tight. Overstreet has been known to gamble, but both those cars, they never really led that group. They just were content to stay in the pack, but not really pushed. I think they maybe swapped positions a couple of times early, but once Monty and Wenger when they kind of got to that group with Witchert and Monty, and then Wenger, they just kind of said, okay, yeah, we'll just kind of sit here for a bit and do a little conservation. So you see Race coming out P4. Wow. So he's jumped Monty, and now he leads in the Masters class.
Does, but he's still 3 seconds down on Overstreet and Green. 3.5 nearest damage, Charles. Let's be honest.
Yep. Yeah, but considering he was P8 or P9 before all this, and was kind of battling with DeGassis for second place in class. So he's made that extra lap, the little overcut that he did, really worked to his advantage.
Richard just came plays there, but it's incredibly tight. He tries to hang it around the outside against Marnie, who slots back in, nearly a bit of a bump from behind from DeGassis. Ooh, I mean, that's a fascinating one, isn't it? You've got your top three in Masters, Nico Witcher throwing in for good measure, but also, Charles, I've been half keeping an eye on one Alexander Wenger, who's currently in 8th, that he was about 5.2 seconds behind this group, but he's gained about a second on them.
Yeah,
he's pushing, last time around he was setting some purple sectors as well. So with a clear track in front of him, he's going for it, and he is easing a tenth at a time out of quite a few of the corners.
Yeah, he's running basically the fastest times on track right now. I mean, a couple of tenths ahead of the leader. And so he's making up that time, and it is being helped by the fact that those cars are battling each other. So that continues. He'll be in that group in short order.
Apologies, he didn't. It's just nearly only 3 tenths off the fastest lap of the race, which he ironically holds. Yeah, a 35.9 for him last time around versus who's the fastest in the group ahead. Well, I'd say it's Nico Witcher who did a 36.4, as they've all been swapping around a little bit, so a little bit not truly representative, but that's half a second faster. It's 5 minutes to go, just under. Yeah. Can he do it? 4.5 seconds to gap? I don't know. He needs this lot to just start fighting.
He needs these guys to be fighting side by side every time they get to a straightaway. They need to be swapping positions. That's the only way he's going to be able to make up, as we see, with is that Race taking the inside line there, going defensive.
That puts
now he's the outside line here. Yeah,
that is the trouble, isn't it? You go defensive. Sometimes it's better to defend the outside because that then gives you the inside for the next 3 corners. Yeah,
that was that was a smart move on Witcher's part. I would say it like that. That was very smart driving. Race did what he thought he needed to do, but Witcher was able to just hang it around on the outside for that one corner, and then was able to capitalize for the next 3.
Beautiful race car from the German, really personifying it. But that gap, Charles, 3.5 seconds it's down to now. 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, as long as they keep doing that, Wenger definitely has a chance to make up some ground very quickly.
Well, every time you mention about it, you seem to be having the positive commentator's curse, because it seems to happen. As Antonio Race having a bit of a look, and you can tell how nervous Witcher feels about it. Instantly defensive, goes straight to the inside, pretty much at the start of the back straightaway.
Yeah, I think Witcher, he just wants to finish in the front of this group, and he's going to win the class by a considerable margin, but he wants to P4. The rest of these guys want him between them as basically a wingman to give him that extra position over their rivals who are still, those three cars were battling for the podium steps for the Masters class.
But it's not done and dusted, Charles, because they
No,
might
no.
have another wingman coming in. They're coming in hot because the gap's down to 2.9 seconds now.
Yeah, you can just almost visually see it as we're kind of riding on board with Wenger, how that gap just keeps slipping away from the rest of those guys. So they're going to have to put their battle aside for a few minutes and maybe run a couple of hot laps. Well, of course, we can say that. We don't have but a couple of laps left. I think it may be white flag next time by.
It will be indeed, won't it? It will be indeed. Oh, well. It's all of a sudden got very interesting, didn't it? Not that it wasn't uninteresting whatsoever. So let's have a quick bit of a sit rep of where we're at. There is Kabanka. He leads overall. Over Street and Green. So that's a battle that's still very much on. Only 3 tenths behind them. Lying second and third respectively. You can see the scrap, that's the almighty scrap that's going on behind them as well. Well, they almost think about making this 3 wide. But they've dropped Witchert. But that gap down to 2.2 seconds now for Wenger. So, this is going to be tight. I do wonder whether he might just run. Well, it depends how much these really do want to battle. For me, Undergas is the interesting party because I don't think he's ever had a winning class.
Yeah, I know he's just kind of waiting on Monty and Race to go side by side and maybe collide with each other and just take that easy win there. But Witchert seems like once he got out front, he's able to just kind of pull a little bit of a gap. Monty's trying to go with him, obviously, and so, Race and DeGasses are just kind of hanging on there. So it's going to be interesting as we see Witchert kind of weaving to try and break the draft. We get the white flag.
Have indeed. 1 lap to go. DeGassis has had 3 second places this season, Charles. And they've all come in the last 4 prior rounds. So he's definitely a man in form. A lot of momentum behind him, and he would love to go 1 better and secure the victory. If Marley can hold this off, that will make his 5th win of the season. If Antonio Race can do it, it will be his 3rd win of the season. But he hasn't won since Alton Park round 2. After he won the first 2 rounds of the season. So,
wow.
Well, this gets interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Witchert doing everything he can to try and break the draft back to Monty. As we see this, if we see there's Wenger. He's just a little bit closer time. Race has dropped off, so that, I don't know what happened there. Race has kind of dropped. Oh, they make contact, wheel to wheel.
Well, they get away with it, and this could be slim pickings for Wenger in the end. Just the one person to pick off potentially. Meanwhile, well, they remain as they are. This has surprised me. I thought this would have come down to more of a scrap. The checkered flag is out. Kabanka is going to win this one and comfortably, but there's only Mike Knight and the last corner left for Overstreet and Green. Will it be a run to the line at 3 tenths? I think Green's too far back to try and secure this one. He's going to give it a go, but no, I think it comes down to 2 tenths. Side by side across the line for them, but nothing much.
Yeah, Witchert with the win in Spec 2.
Wenger, though, is close. Oh, no, they've crossed the line. In the end, 1300ths behind Antonio Race.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Race there, because he obviously was battling with Monty and DeGassis and just, for whatever reason...
track.
Yeah?
Because I can see from the event log that he's come off track, and then Alan DeGassis has pretty much instantaneously passed it.
Yeah.
So I think Josh has managed to find something in the replays. Let's have a look and see how this one unfolded for us.
So coming down to the hairpin. Oh yeah, just got loose. He managed to catch it, but yeah, you see him. He's over in the dirt off on the side, and of course that cost him the chance to battle for the class win. So I have a few more cars that are circulating, trying to finish up the race.
Well, there's quite a few drivers. They only crossed the line just before Kubanka took the checkered flag himself.
Mhm.
I mean, it reminds me a little bit of real-life racing and the British Truck Racing Series that was at Brands Hatch last weekend as part of the BARC package, the British Automobile Racing Club. And yeah, the checkered flag was out for the winner, but there was a fight in what is effectively Spec 2, to give it Weekend Warriors terminology,
Mhm.
between the two championship leaders. But where they crossed the line just before the race winner did, one of them who needed to win realistically to keep their championship hopes alive, actually thought the checkered flag was for them, so backed right out of it.
Oh.
And as you're on the Indy circuit, it doesn't take a long time to,
No.
to make
No,
a
you're
rotation, even in a lorry.
No, you're not making that time up at that point.
No. So that put an end to that one. But it just goes to show it happens in the real world as well. Well, with everyone across the line, I believe we should be able to bring you some classified results very, very shortly. Meantime, should we have a chat to some of our... Oh, there we go. Oh, I saw them sneakily start to pop out. Hold on. There we go. There we go. So, confirmation, Kubanka wins over Overstreet and Green. Nico Witcher takes 4th place in Spec 2 victory. Marnie, Degassis and Race was how they finished. Yet again, another 2nd place, making it 4 from 5 races for Gassius in Masters. Antonio Race finishes 7th and 3rd overall after that. Big twitchy moment cost him dearly. Wenger in the end, that massive pit stop, a mistake, and then the massive pit stop cost him dearly, finishing 4th in Class 8 overall. West and McConnell ran out your top 10, and then it's Ray and Murakami. Bit of a quiet day at the office for Murakami, well off pace and all the way down in 12th, 5th in class. Then we've got 2nd and 3rd in Spec 2. Benjamin Harris, good result for him, keeping his championship aspirations alive, with Tim Staino running up top the podium in Spec 2, taking down at 14th. Del Drew into 15th, then it's Coffey. Toms for Bruges, who was your highest. No, for Bruges wasn't in the end. It was Jeff Saunders who finished in 19th. He was up 10 places, takes the honour for most positions gained, having started at the last row of the grid. Jeff Cantor, and then we've got Brewster and Laurie Scriven in 21st. Stevens, Walbolt, Bodas. So many drivers finishing on the lead lap in 26th. Then Michael Nelson, the only driver, 1 lap down. Then into retirements, Kurt Nunes, we lost him on lap 19. Scott on lap 17, and Carter back on lap 3 and beat 25 laps here today. Let's have a bit of a chat to some of our drivers. A bit of a cluster here, and let's talk to... Well, we'll go for the highest position one. Megan Overstreet, that's 2nd here today. We were a little bit worried, Megan, that you'd taken too little fuel, less than what even Jason Green had, and we know how lean he can be. But equally, we saw you, was it your intentional strategy? We saw you just hanging out, sat there, almost fuel saving the entire race.
I got to save fuel for a little bit, but not much. During the pit stops, I knew I needed to get at least 6 laps worth of fuel in my car, and I got 6.1, which was very good because at the line, I had just started to sputter with 0.1 gallons left in my car.
Well, there you go. You timed it to perfection. All you need is enough just to get you over the line and past the checkered flag. I mean, talks about it. I mean, were you surprised to see yourself, jump so many places and so much time? Certainly against your Marnie, who'd led that group for the entirety of the race until the round of pit stops.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised. I had almost destroyed my car going into the pit lane. I hit the grass just barely and almost slammed into the wall. So I was like, oh, this game's over right here. But luckily, I was able to keep it going, and it worked out. But I was really surprised whenever I came out of the pits and I was in 2nd. I was like, how did that even happen?
Well, congratulations, Megan, 2nd here today. And, well, good luck for later on with the SRFs.
Thank you.
So Megan Overstreet, 2nd here today. Charles, I'm going to take a stab in the dark. Keep position going.
Yeah, we always talk with the Masters class winner, Jorg Monty. Congratulations. Pretty uneventful first half of the race, but after the pit stops, Antonio Race kind of did an overcut on you guys and was able to kind of jump into that battle with you and the Asses for the last few laps.
Yeah, that was great fun, and we know each other since a long time, Antonio and us, and we always play fair but tough, and it was a great race. It was uneventful, as you mentioned it at the beginning, because I was actually a bit bored, but otherwise it was a nice race. I think my pit stop was decent as well, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, it was, it was on par with maybe a little high, but on par with everybody else. So yeah, but it was overall a good race for you. And like I said, it was a good battle. We enjoyed watching the battle between you and Alan and Antonio during that second half of the race. And Antonio with a little bobble with a couple of laps to go, and it kind of took him out of the picture a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened. At least what I saw in the back mirror. But I think at the end he would be able to pass me actually on that track, because he knows the track a bit better than me. I mean, we all know the track quite well, but I think he's a bit quicker than me on this track.
Yeah, I understand. Well, congratulations on the win, and we'll catch you a little bit later in the Spec Racer.
Well, maybe. Let's see.
All right.
Bye bye, guys.
Thanks, Jordan.
Next up, we've got Jason Green. Jason, third here today. Not a bad result, but amazing. Were you surprised to see when Megan Overstreet emerged out of the pit stops in front of you? We all know how you're synonymous with being the number one when it comes to fuel strategy and putting just enough fuel in the car.
Yeah, I'm happy that she finally nailed it, because she usually puts in a little too much fuel. So when I saw it was just me and her battling for second, I got it was pretty exciting. I knew it was going to be a good battle.
And talk about that finish. I mean, it seemed to be that you after the pit stops, you seemed pretty even on pace, and that gap, I think, it started off at 3 tenths, and that's pretty much how it ended.
Yep. Yeah, we were pretty much even on pace, like you said. So it was just going to come down to who got a better run down the back straight on the last lap. Probably should have gone for it on the second to last lap as well, but I kind of went all in on the last lap, and then I got a bad exit, and then she got a little bit of draft in the lap car, so it I had to do the mega send from 3 tenths back, which I was gonna go for it, but it probably wasn't gonna work.
Well, what's it to be in terms of second, but still got to be happy with third, and good luck for later on with the surfs.
Thanks. Yeah, pretty happy with it. I'm glad I got to battle Megan. It's always a lot of fun.
Definitely. That is Jason Green here, who finished third here today from Okayama. But that is all we've got time for here today. From the Formula Fords, but coming up later on, we had to a jump across the globe, and not just continents, but we head to Stetson in the SRS. Make sure you tune in out about an hour's time here on Apex Racing TV. But, well, it was pretty much normal service resumed. Kabanka, Marnie, and Witcher with class wins here today from Okayama. I've been Tim Cox with Charles Bashal and Josh Wilkie, and we'll see you in a week's time when we head to Phillip Island. That's going to be a classic. Make sure you tune in. See you then.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use